The reality is that health is always evolving and it looks different for everyone. I personally think that health is an individual experience that I just don't think can be defined by numbers or a specific appearance. Hey, my name is Sabrina and I am crazy passionate about healthy, sustainable living and especially helping you figure out what sustainable health looks like in your life. I'm a yoga teacher and wellness coach, but 5 years ago, I was 50 pounds heavier, stressed out of my mind, and always sick. While I was majoring in environmental economics and policy in school, I figured out how to get healthy, cut my environmental footprint in half, and love my life. And I'm sharing with you how to do just that. Here on SNS, we cover all elements of sustainable wellness, from yoga, essential oils, waste streams, mindset hacks, shopping sustainably, self-care, and eating habits. I bring on badass women to chat with me about their journeys and share their wisdom as business owners, thought leaders, and most importantly, everyday working gals. Think of this as your one-stop shop for sustainable living and wellness tips filled with inspiration and good vibes. So put on your headphones, turn up the volume, and get ready to laugh and learn. Hey you! Do you ever feel like you can't reach that perfect picture of health? Like you're just light years away from the image displayed by the wellness industry, and so why even try? By the end of today's episode, you are going to know all about why we've got to shift our concept of health to focus on a hopeful journey rather than a destination that almost everyone falls short of. As a sustainable wellness and stress reduction coach, I educate and work one-on-one with clients to address health in the context of sustainable action, and it's key to start with a healthy mindset before diving into action, both for ourselves and the planet. For the best healthy and sustainable living advice, be sure to subscribe if you're listening on iTunes or follow if you're listening on Spotify. Let's dive in. So I think the first thing that we really need to talk about today is what the image of health seems to be today. It seems that healthy is thin but not too thin, toned but not too toned, has flawless skin, silky but not too oily hair, perfect diet, no chronic pain, of course unlimited energy, never disease or sickness. I mean, who is that? No one. It's completely unachievable, and yet it's the supposed destination that we are somehow all supposed to arrive at. It's so impossible that many people just give up trying, and they assume that, it's only something that other people can achieve. Or the other option I see a lot is that they try their whole life to get there, purchasing hundreds of crazy products, running hundreds of miles, and trying out diets, and they still never achieve what we see as air quotes, optimal health. The reality is that health is always evolving and it looks different for everyone. I personally think that health is an individual experience that I just don't think can be defined by numbers or a specific appearance. I think it's more important to think about health as a journey with tiny little goals along the way. Health has to be something that is fluid and changes depending on its context. Healthy living looks different depending on your age, your gender, your culture, your season in life, and the needs of your physical body. I think it's also really important in our context to talk about how healthy is also more often than not natural. Healthy is not packaged, it's never synthesized, it shouldn't be stressful, and it usually is not something that creates a crazy environmental impact. That's something that we talked about a lot a couple weeks ago on the episode with Caroline, where we really dived into essentially the basics of sustainable eating. Over the next several weeks, we are going to be bringing on some amazing guests, from female farmers to founders of zero-waste cooking tools, to chat about sustainable eating. If you missed last week's episode that I just mentioned, be sure to go back and listen. Caroline Ferguson, former pro baker and food writer, and I sit down to chat about the basics of sustainable eating, and it is such a blast. My personal health journey is a great example of how health is a journey and not a destination. When I first decided that I needed to get healthy, I was super sick and 50 pounds heavier, and I had pretty much convinced myself that I was incredibly unathletic, that I was destined to eat unhealthy foods, and at that point, I wasn't even thinking about my environmental impact. All I was thinking about is the fact that I just felt so bad about myself all the time. And I'm sure that some of you can relate to that. It's a horrible mindset that is created by certain things that we cultivate in ourselves and also all of the different input that we get from the culture that we live in today. When I first started, I had this idea of myself as a goal, a body, a person that I wanted to look like. And it helped me lose probably the first 10 pounds. It's the thing that I saw in my head. But what it eventually ended up doing is even while I was losing the weight, it ended up in a situation where I hated myself. I felt like somehow, even though I was losing weight, I didn't look like that woman in my head. And what I realized was all of the years that I had been seeing this body in my head, I never could see the face. And that's because it wasn't my face and it wasn't my body. The woman that I was seeing in my head looked like a Victoria's Secret model, or like a lot of the women that I see on Pinterest that are just a very specific body type that is not my body type. I will never look like that. Now, at my fittest that I have ever been, I feel so amazing. But the primary reason is because I decided that my health was going to be a journey and that there was never going to be the most perfect or ideal me, that the most perfect and ideal me is the me right now. And that for myself and for my happiness, I'm going to continue to keep myself healthy and move and do things that make me feel happy instead of try and achieve this certain look that is supposedly the goal of health. So I would just present that to you, that if you're seeing health as a certain image in your mind that's kind of blurry but has really thin arms and, a great ass or whatever, that you know that you can attain that, but it has to be within the context of what your body is and who you are. And you have to know that the key is not to achieve the image, but to achieve the feeling that you imagine having when you think you look like that. So what I want you to start doing, starting today, when you're thinking of your ideal body, take out the image part and start thinking of how you feel, the elements of how you feel. Do you have more energy? Do you feel happy? Do you feel more in love with yourself? Does your body feel stronger? Does it feel more capable? Do you feel more resilient? That's what I want you to focus on. I want you to stop tying your health goals to an image and start thinking of it as a feeling, because feelings can be cultivated right now, starting today, and they can be maintained throughout your journey and improved in consistency throughout your health journey. I know that we started out our conversation so big and then it got very confusing, and then now we're talking about feelings and all of these things, and that can be a really hard thing to grapple with. So know that if you are confused about where you're at in your health, I have so many different support systems set up for you. You can head to the link in the show notes to get my free downloadable map to health that's completely customizable for you, with the little video that I explain how to get started figuring out what that feeling and what those goals actually are for you. If you like today's episode and you're totally vibing with what I'm saying about health being not something that is an image and something that is completely bio-individual, be sure to leave a review. If you want to be featured in an episode shout out, just leave a review for the podcast on iTunes and add your Instagram handle in the review. Each week, I'm going to start giving a shout out to 3 new reviewers at the start of each episode. So I'll read your review and I'll give a shout out to your Instagram handle. I'm so excited for everyone to hear about their fellow listeners and for us to continue to build community together. So be sure to leave a review for the podcast on iTunes and add your Instagram handle in the review. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode and for spending some of your precious time with me. I will see you next Thursday, sending good vibes.